Welcome, dudes. We're about to be reviewing the third Bill and Ted film in the franchise, Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah.
Yeah. and this film, it's directed by Dean Parasite and is written by the two writers who did the other two films, Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, and is the sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, and reunites Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter playing their respective characters, Bill and Ted, and to reprise their roles. And they also bring back some other famous, some other legends like William Sadler as the Grim Reaper back, and some new cast members, including Samara Weaving as Bill's daughter, and you also got Bridget Lundy Payne as Ted's daughter. And in this film, it deals with years later. We have Bill and Ted, who are pretty much in they're like settled down. They're like their mid-50s or so.
Yeah, mid-50s.
And they're basically they didn't reach quite the success after they did in the last movie. They've pretty much
because there's like this whole montage where in the events of Bogus Journey. I don't know if it was like a pun intended, because a lot of people didn't care for that one. I liked it personally. I thought it was better than Excellent Adventure. But on that one, they're kind of saying like their success from that concert, they went downhill.
Yeah.
And basically they just like, as you know from these movies, the plot goes basically their success affects the future like the other two films.
Yeah, because in the other movie, in both movies, they established that in the far future that they're hailed as legends, and it was the whole point about, if you remember the original films, George Carlin's character was to bring them in to make sure that they were able to keep the future where they are, to make sure that they become legends in their own right.
Yeah.
And basically it becomes quite actually a lot more struggles this time, because they get called from this one of the people from the future that comes in, Kelly, and they realize that from the leaders of the future that they have to basically create the ultimate song to unite the world in order to save the universe.
Yes, and while this is going on, they're faced against not only being tracked down to be killed, but also world is coming to an end, because they apparently went through time, and everybody's went through time so much that we start seeing like the future where just the worlds of timelines are just like,
they're
can you imagine?
compromised.
Let me ask. It's basically like this: Back to the Future. Just imagine them fucking the timeline up to where, I mean, you're just sitting there in real time, and then boom, Mozart pulls up. Boom, like, I don't know, fucking dinosaurs pop up. Boom. So all this shit is going on throughout the world. The pyramids landed in the same town that they live in California.
San Dimas.
Yeah, so like a lot of crazy shit's going on, and basically all this, it created a time loop to where it's pretty much going to end universe.
And history is pretty much being altered too, where, not to spoil anything, but let's just say that they have to fix the past, because now we're basically getting alternate timelines, so to speak, that are going on, and they're bringing they're altering timelines of past and future and everything. So it pretty much has to stop. Bill and Ted have to pretty much not only have to find the right way to bring the music together, but with the help with their daughters as well. They're trying to, do kind of similar to what Excellent Adventure is, where they have to go on their own journey with basically bringing in historical figures and stuff from the past. So it's basically a combination of both the first two movies, but doing its kind of its own thing too.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah.
And now here's a little backstory here. Now, if you've been following our channel, we actually did a Bill and Ted retrospective that you're welcome to check out here. And like we discussed in those films are held and they are highly regarded as good cult classics in their own right. And I really love the cult appeal that it has. And I do find the first two films still very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up with them. Well, I grew up watching pieces of them when I was a kid. But after finally seeing them as an adult, I appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah, see, me personally, like, I know that a lot of people might have thought I came off as like really criticizing the film more. I still enjoy both movies. I just thought they were bigger than what they were hailed, but they were still good characters. Bill and Ted themselves are iconic. It's just I thought the scripts were handled like
the story
I wasn't used to such iconic characters I grew up hearing about and seeing scenes about ended up being just very cheap, independent. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. They both were still good movies, and people noticed my average Joe grades, and you know, I'm not trying to be an ass, but, and you know, I'm about the 80s and 90s. It's just, I don't know, I guess I was, because I was late to the movies, when, so to speak, when it came to that, you know, the Bill and Ted's, because I knew of the characters, but never really watched them until we did the retrospective, up to the retrospective, and, I still enjoy them. Like I said, script-wise, I mean, I'm sorry, I had to give them Average Joe to High Average Joe.
Yeah, High Average Joe.
And no, the first one was Average Joe.
No, you both gave him. You both gave him High Average.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, I stand corrected. Both High Average Joe, but the characters are phenomenal. I still think they're phenomenal. You know, despite the scripts and stuff, I still enjoy both movies. I would own them both. I mean, High Average Joe is almost a B's to me, so it's still a pretty good franchise, you know, that they're trying to build. And this is the ultimate trilogy, and what we're doing is we're seeing trends of this. We saw it last year with Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So we're seeing this trend where, you know, we've seen it many times before where films, well, it'll be a franchise from like an 80s,
90s.
Well, 80s mainly, and it would be something they did maybe 1, 2, 3, and then they bring it back 30 years later or 20 years later, or whatever you want to call it. And this is another trend of that. And whenever they announced it, you know, I was like, all right, you know, I need to go back and watch the other two, you know, because we're seeing this thing, another trend where we're like I was just stating, where we're bringing that shit back, the 80s.
They're doing
and we're doing like this thing where we add on another movie to something so classic.
And also, in a way, not to jump the gun, but they're basically doing like sort of soft reboots in their own right. So like basically doing fresh takes on them, so to speak.
Yeah. So without being further ado on this, I will say that upon seeing the film, I will say, you guys know what I said about the first two films. I still love the first two films. I'm just saying it was weird. I know I was pretty judgmental a little bit. I still enjoyed them. I love the characters, but upon seeing this film, I actually got to say this is the best one of the series. I thought it was handled with perfection, and this is a rare occasion where, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a film actually fucking handle with so much love and care to where I actually overrule the fucking something that I'm about, nostalgia, over something new. The new did it. They really, really you could tell by the whole film, they loved what they did with this film. They really, how do you word it?
They put a lot of passion in.
Passion. That's what I'm looking for. Passion. They put a lot of fucking passion in this film, and I loved this movie. Enjoyment. It was. What to say?
I definitely do enjoy it. Now I can't. I'm not really going to compare much if I prefer it over the other two.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I'm on his level. Like I really did enjoy the film.
It was a big surprise.
It was a big surprise for me. Really good.
Because it's weird to see something 30 years, 20-something years, damn near 30 years for anyway, fucking be this good of a 2 sequel movie that, you know, from so far. You see a lot of films fuck a lot up and don't really get what the 81 did right.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I was actually kind of blown away, like, wow, they really cared about this movie.
And it's hard to do at comedies, because with comedies, we have seen that trend where we've been bringing back old franchises of old days, like 2014 we had Dumb and Dumber, which we both enjoyed, but we can understand that one wasn't that great. It was nowhere near as good as the first one, but we liked it for what it was.
For what it was, but it was a drop.
Yeah.
And another example, Super Troopers.
Yeah.
I loved the first one, but that second one was kind of a drop.
We did like Bad Santa too, even though we still preferred the first.
Yeah, that one was still funny, but again, another drop. So with comedies, he is right. When it's like 20, 30 years old, 15, 20, whatever it is, and they waited so long to do a sequel, about 99%, 95% of the time, they don't touch really that close. So this one, I gotta say, it did. It touched. It did in all the ways. And getting into my pros now, what can I say about Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter? They nailed their roles again. And it's weird because Alex Winter, like we said, when we did a retrospective, it was different because this was at the time he acted. Now he doesn't act. He does documentaries. And to see that he doesn't act in so long and came in here and was legit the same character, and Keanu Reeves was able to pull it off because you got to think, Keanu Reeves has been in serious roles for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got to say, they both have it in them.
They still got the magic.
Yeah,
it's refreshing to see not only Alex Winter come back, but also Keanu Reeves playing what he was best at in his early days as comedy. It still worked.
It still works.
And while it was a little, well, because we've been in that trend now where Keanu Reeves has been always playing roles with his beard. Yeah. It's refreshing to see him clean shaved again, playing his old iconic character.
And one of my worries when I saw saw the trailers and everything, I was kind of concerned that, because the two movies fit of its time, 80s and 90s is really like, Dougula, man.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I felt like that wasn't an issue in this time. I felt like
it still matched.
It still matched, yeah.
It still fit. It perfectly fit the tone of the other two films.
Yeah. And so continue on with my other pros. I gotta say that their daughters, the actresses they got for the daughters were fucking great.
Yeah.
Man, were they not only spot on to their fathers, but they were likable.
They were, yeah.
I enjoyed the shit out of them, and I'm not going to confirm it yet, but there's rumors that actually, because there's a kind of a passing of a torch in this, we are going to get a spinoff and continuation with the daughters. And you know what?
I'm all for it. Yeah. And not just that, but because it also helps that you already got an established actress like Samara Weaving, who we saw last year, Ready or Not.
Yeah.
She's become a really good talent actress in her own right, especially with The Babysitter, and it's good to see her.
Sequel to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if she's come back for that, but
I think that was her in the trailer. I don't know.
I don't know. I had to see, but anyway. She's become an actress I've enjoyed lately too, and and her were really great with each other.
She's very energetic.
Yeah, and not only that, but I was so happy to see a lot of the other actors from the other films. They not only got back Ted's dad, the same actor playing also a cop in this still, but also they got back Aunt Missy his stepmom from the first two movies.
Yeah, the one that you kept seeing jumping in the mid.
Not to again. This time she does the same shit. Only this time they say that Ted's got he's got a younger brother now, so she
left her home because she got with the dad.
And then she got with the villain in the second movie at the end of that one.
And then fucking leaves the dad for fucking this.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue on with my pros. I gotta say it was a joy to see William Sadler back on big screen.
Death.
Oh my God, Death! I just something about the character. I just wish all the last two films would give him more screen time. He's funny in this. He's great in this. It's still the same thing with the Bogus Journey where. I just wish they'd give him so much screen time. He's so enjoyable. In fact, I wouldn't mind a spinoff of him.
I would love to see a spinoff of William Sadler's Death. Because the thing too, we didn't bring this up in our retrospective. He was actually a parody of a film that was called The Seventh Seal back in the day. It was a classic film, and because in that movie it also dealt with death. That was a parody. It's all right. That still worked, and he made that character even more funny.
Yeah, so
it was great seeing him back, and I love the banter that he has with not only Bill and Ted, but also the banter because there's a subplot going on where they hire this robot to go after Bill and Ted. Yeah, the banter that he has with Dev is just fucking hilarious.
This new hierarchy who runs the future pretty much orders this robot to kill Bill and Ted, and I'll get in my cons a little bit on the thing, but it's also a pro on this. It ends up the robot's funny as shit, and he's like trying to find his spot in the band. And Death and him kind of have like this thing, like the Death is like you know, like, who the fuck are you type of thing, you know. It just, it's hard to explain. You got to see it. It's funny. William Sadler, Holt still is good. I mean, I want to see him in more things, but I will say that one thing I got to say, I got to, you know, I got to appreciate what they did with this. Thank you for respecting George Carlin's character.
Yes, that was a great. Not going to go into spoilers. There's something that we won't reveal because for the purpose of the film, for the plot, they do honor him in the film, and
they did it in a legit way,
in a great way. And there's something that they do kind of clever that I thought was a really not only good tribute to him, but it was a nice like kind of passing of the torch kind of thing, which I thought was very good.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see that person guiding the daughters in the other movies. But yeah, I thought that was a great addition to that, and you know, the respect, and that's overall I got to praise for that, is the respect that they combined Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, and then make the ultimate closure to this film. And yes, unfortunately, I think I read this is the last movie of them, so it was great to see. Maybe they'll make a cameo more than anything. Probably. But this is the official lead-wise, they're done. Yeah. But I will say that what I really liked about this, and why I kind of really thought, I kind of have the feeling that I feel like this movie was the better of the three, was the fact that, yes, there's higher budget, and that helps a lot.
It's more epic scale.
They really did hit the epic scale in this film. The story, the plot is really good. I was actually shocked. I was impressed. I said that Bill and Ted and the other two films were like really good. Plots were great, you know. I'm not saying they were bad.
They just could have done. They didn't take.
It was just very independent. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't take a whole lot of potential of what they did. With this one, they were able to give kind of the best of both worlds, where it's like, oh, you like the stuff in Excellent Adventure? Let's bring that back, and then bring back Bogus Journey, and then do their own thing. They were able to blend all three movies, three different plots, but do two homages to the first two movies, but do its own thing too while doing its own thing.
And another thing, and if you guys know, we're wearing the same clothes, I might as well announce it. Like the movie Unhinged we saw earlier today, which he's going to post a review. You probably will see the review before this. The overall surprise on the quality that they did with the plot and everything,
and the music
was on the kind of the same level. But another thing I gotta praise, Excellent Adventure, but more on I think, in my opinion, was more epic in this one, was the iconic people they bring in to help do the band. I felt like it was cool seeing classic people like Jimi Hendrix and all them, but the people who portrayed these people did phenomenal, like Louis Armstrong and all them. My God, did they fucking do so good in this movie.
Full. It was like seeing them. Authenticness is there.
Yeah.
You know, and I appreciate that too, because it felt like it was a good not only nostalgia trip in the right way, but it was the way of feeling the tone of the film, because they were able to capture that without having to rehash it. Because unlike Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they're having to do it for purposes of a certain thing, for purposes of bringing them in for just, out of their world and bring it, they do it kind of the opposite approach. And we'll leave it there, because basically it becomes pretty much the anti version of Excellent Adventure, where they're having to bring them out to save the world this time, because history's fault is altering itself.
Yeah, history altered itself to where everything was going to go blank. And it'd be one big black hole, everybody's dead, nothing exists, and life is, it is gone, even the universe is gone. What
I also appreciate too is, what really had me laughing at quite a points in the film is not only the shenanigans that Bill and Ted get into, especially when they see their future selves, is pretty funny. Especially the part where they go to the one where they see them in prison and shit. Yeah. He's like,
they're all buff. There's I'll get into more detail on this one. So they go through, this one's a little different. They're not going through time periods so to speak. They're not trying to focus on Bill and Ted going to 1700s to meeting George Washington or anything like this. But this one is more of them meeting themselves, because in this film they got to find the right music to save the world, but one of their futures or past, I'm going to leave it up to y'all to see the movie, holds the key to the right song. And they jump and they meet themselves, and it was actually quite editing perfect that they were able to pull that off, where they acted so different but so like the same at the same time.
Yeah.
So they did that. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter nailed it. Awesome. Even whenever they were old, or if they're this and that. I mean, whatever time period they were in, it was so different but so the same. It was balanced.
Yeah.
And I will say that another thing that I felt was real kind of rare in actually all the movies was there's actually a very heart moment. And it has Bill and Ted kind of seeing like their older selves, where they're kind of like on their deathbeds a little bit. And there's a lot of there's actually a closure.
A genuine,
genuine
scene.
Scene where like they hold the balance to something, and they see like I don't want to go any more on that, because I'll just say that I felt like I'm gonna say that the other two films on the heart level and genuine, you didn't see that in those other two, but this one
did a little bit. It was briefly in Excellent Adventure. In Excellent Adventure, you had that scene where they see themselves, well, not see themselves, but they see the future, how it holds. That is like the only like heartwarming scene that was in Excellent Adventures. But this one, they did it to where they did more of the love of how they pretty much seen themselves. So
exactly,
and it worked. It really worked,
and it was kind of clever. The entire script, I got to praise too. It was very balanced. It was led up to the very good thing. Like the journey onto getting to where they need to be, and overall, still, I laughed. It was a good time. It was funny.
It was, and I also got to appreciate, like, we were hearing. I don't know if this was it or not, but we also heard different renditions of some of the music that was from Excellent Adventure as well. They kind of tied in. That became a big plot point, because for those of you who remember Excellent Adventure, there was that scene where they see the future part. They use a rendition of that in a big moment in the film, which I think, if I'm recalling correctly, so I thought that was a good like little tribute to not only that movie, but also work in context of how they become who they are and shit.
Exactly.
And stuff.
So, I mean, there's not really want to spoil too much for you guys, but with that being said, get into the cons real quick. They introduced us a little bit with villains, but like the previous two films, the villains are pretty brief in this movie. They're short-lived, and again, that's another problem. And I don't know what it is with these films, but another other con I have, the only other con I will mention really, is what is up with these films where they have to go to an epic concert, and it's so short, and it's just randomly ends.
And abruptly ends.
Yeah.
That's what they did with Bogus Journey.
And they did it again in this one, but in my opinion, it was more quicker in this one. But again, like I said earlier, just a minute ago, the fucking villains are just
they're
like
very brief.
Yeah, they're brief like the other films. Again, they can't get the villain thing going on right, and they can't get the end concert right. I don't know if that's like something that's supposed to be edgy, different. I don't know. Yeah. I don't feel it really. I wish they would stop that, because I think they could do better on those movies. Mm-hmm. The ending and the like all the other shit. They just like to abruptly end shit.
Right, and they could have established like there's a point where, let's say like there's a point where they go to like their future selves and stuff. Yeah. If you're going for more things that they kind of lead up to it, they could have really just go right there instead of having But I get why they did it, because they had to go through their whole journey, because they didn't realize, because you got to think this is Bill and Ted. So they're not going to be the brightest to go to their future selves.
I start now you mention that, I gotta give it to, I can't add that.
But
he's right. There's a situation where I was bitching about when we were watching it, where I was like, alright, this whole entire time you did like all these time travels where it fucked everything up and just fucking got in so much dilemma, when you could have just went to your old selves that already knew what the right song was. But then you wait all the way till three quarters in the movie to go to that when you could have just went to them the first. But then again, like he said, Bill and Ted is pretty much the live action Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
They're not the brightest, and that's the important point of these movies. So, I gotta say that overall, I'm surprised. They did a very good job at this, and Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, you guys gave heart to this film, and everything directing and writing. It was a lot of heart, and I appreciate that they were able to do something from that back in that time period and bring something that's rare. Kevin Smith did it, yes, with Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but not many films can hold that kind of gold torch, so to speak. So, with that being said, it is a step up from the other two, in my opinion, because I felt like there was just so much higher budget and so much heart to it compared to where it was just more indie in the other two. So with that being said, I'm going to give this film a high, compelling grade on the Film Phreeks meter.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm going to go with, now that I think about it, I'm going to stick with just compelling right now, because I look at it as the same grade as like I do at Bogus Journey, which it's still great.
Yeah.
Like there's things about it I prefer Bogus Journey a little bit over this one, but I get what you're saying. I love the movie overall. I just don't know if I would choose it over either two or this one. So I'd have to really think about it. So for now, I'm just going with compelling grade.
And it's weird because that's a higher jump from my two Average Joes.
Yeah, so because I still put.
I just felt like there was just so much heart to this.
No, there was. Yeah,
I felt like there was
I had that love for it. Dan.
I felt like there was a lot of work put into this movie.
Yeah,
and whenever there's something like that done, I gotta appreciate it. I gotta give it a lot of credit. And it's hard to pull something off 30 years fucking later. So with that being said, I gave my grade. I do recommend it. People, if you're a big fan of this, watch it.
Yeah, and
other two films, and it's worth it.
And I'm so glad, we live in the Keanu Renaissance where we're seeing him make his iconic characters come back, and I can't wait to see what he does next with his next iconic characters that he brings in. So
I think he's up for another Constantine.
I've heard rumors about that, but he is doing Matrix 4 and John Wick Chapter 4, so keep him going, Keanu. You got this.
Please do Constantine 2. Constantine's underrated.
Yeah, so for those of you who have also seen Bill and Ted Face the Music and also the other two Bill and Ted movies, let us know in the comments what you thought about them. And thank you so much for watching. And stay safe. And be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later. Later.
Later.